What's up, guys? Welcome back. Today I am working on the Rotiform wheels. Gonna get some valve stems put in them, mount some tires on the tire machine we have in my father's shop. But while I do that, since I'm here, I've got my Ludwick's Garage Euro plates that I'm making for the Polo cutting on my machine because they take a while to make. So this engraving operation is running now. It's going to take quite a while to cut simply because I'm engraving a black border around the outside of the plate. So that's why the laser head is taking so long to travel back and forth. So while those cut, I'm going to get some tires mounted on the wheels and yeah, continue getting a bunch of things in order and assembled to then take over to my shop where the Polo is and really start hammering from there. All right, gonna get some tires mounted up. I am running the Federal Formosa 165 45s. Anyone who's had a lowered European car on 15s has more than likely run a set of Federal Formosas. I like the way the Federals stretch if you're running a 165 45 on an 8-inch wide wheel or just between a 7 and an 8.5 wide wheel, even if you're running up to a 165 50. I really like the sidewalls of the Federal Formosas. They don't have a real aggressive rim protector that sticks way out or looks too wonky when a tire's stretched. It's got a nice smooth sidewall to it. The Nankangs and a few other companies seem to have like a real crazy looking rim protector. And the Federals are available. They sell out sometimes. Sometimes it's difficult to find them in the States. But I've decided to go with a 165 45 on this application simply because the car's on air and I want to be able to drive it super low as well. I've had 165 50s on most of the 15 by 8s that I've run, 15 by 8 through 15 by 9s on most of my European cars, but I felt like 165 45 would work real well because this is on air, it's not static. Most of my other cars that I've run 165 tires on 15 by 8s or wider have been static, so I've gone to the 50 simply to get a little bit more height out of the overall diameter to lift the car just a little bit if the suspension was super low. So for years, I've put 165 45s on 15 by 8s, and the 45s have actually seated on an 8-inch wide wheel with just the built-in like bead blaster in the tire machine. The 165 50s have had a hard time doing so because the sidewall's longer, a little bit taller, and they tend to wrap in, and it requires more force to be pulled out to seat on the wheel. So putting a 165 45 on an 8 this time around, I figured that would be the case. Now, again, over the years, I have not purchased a bead blaster. And every time I do this, I always require one, no matter if I'm running anything as small as 15s all the way up through 18s or 19s like what I've got on the Century. I don't do enough tires to warrant that being at the forefront of my head at all times. So what's been super stressful is every time I'm mounting tires that I need a bead blaster, I don't have one. And so I end up driving 45 minutes south to a friend's shop who has one, and it just becomes a whole production. Well, I finally acquired one, and I contacted a good friend of my family's, friend of my father's, who owns a shop here in town, and shout out to Mr. Brian Bushman for giving me one of the numerous, apparently, bead blasters, bead seaters that he has. And hopefully this thing will do the job, because these 165 45s on that 15 by 8 it's right there, even soaped up with a ratchet strap all around it, trying to do everything I can to get them to grab the seat of the wheel, the bead. It just wasn't happening. So gonna give this a go and hopefully blast these things on. This thing's actually pretty cool. I like old rustic patinaed relics. So thank you, Brian, for the bead seater. Brian actually wanted a couple of the Ludwick's Garage shirts back when I first did the order, and I had his shirts laying around and I forgot to take them over to him, and he wanted to gift me this and then get me cash for the shirts, and I'm like, no, we're even. We're even. So we're gonna get this thing filled up, and my father's next door cutting some trees down at the moment, so he might come down here and give me a hand. That way one of us can run the air on the tire machine, and then the other one can operate the bomb with the ball valve on it.
this thing, this snap-on one, I finally fixed it.
Yeah, I hadn't seen that one yet.
I almost threw it away. Someone had wrecked the threads inside here, so you couldn't screw a stem into it.
Oh, yeah.
And
How do you ruin those threads?
I don't know.
When you're just lightly.
But I do not know what the thread is of a valve cap because I don't own a die or a tap.
Right, yeah.
I couldn't find anything. I couldn't match it. It's their own thread, I guess.
Yeah.
So there's no way of fixing it. And I had an old one of these.
Yeah.
And I drilled the pin out of it and I put it in this.
Yeah.
I took the other one. I'm like, I can't throw that snap-on thing away.
Yeah, that's a nicer one.
So yeah, I finally took some time and I had enough of those other ones kicking around. I said, yeah, I'll swap with one of those.
Yeah.
Look, I got a brand new one right here that never came out of the package.
Oh yeah, yeah.
That way, one of my guys said, we can't find the valve tool. Where is it?
Yeah.
So are we all done? We're shutting down now. We can't do tires. Are we on a tool?
Yeah. Well, that fourth one, we didn't have to even use the bead blaster for. And as I mentioned before, doing a 16545 on an 8, on a 15, they've usually gone right on. But my dad and I put that bead seeder right to work, got the first 3 put on. That was the first bead seeder I've ever actually used. And it's a good thing I was hanging on real tight because this Cobra is sitting right here. And that thing just about wanted to jump out of my hands. So I'm glad I held on real tight. Because that thing just got an $18,000 paint job. 165/45 on a 15x8 is a pretty good stretch. Definitely feels like back in 2010, 2011 days again. But they seat well. The Federal Formosa tires, as I mentioned before, not having much of a rim protector makes the stretch look even crazier. Whereas a Nankang or something, that rim protector kind of sticks out a bunch and doesn't look as crazy. But the overall goal of this type of stretch, in my opinion, for this particular application, isn't just stancy stance. It's so I can get the car as low as possible and still have as much steering as possible. So the more tire stretch I have, the more bevel of the sidewall I have, which is ultimately where we saw this originate in Japan. I mean, I guess you can't really say where it originated, but we saw this in the early 2000s, late 90s in Japan, and a lot of those cars were static, and the stretch tire allowed for not only a smaller overall diameter for ride height, but it allowed you to run a pretty wide, aggressive wheel, but still have your steering. But if you had any sort of like balloon tire or a tire that was wide enough to where the sidewall was straight up, you'd buzz your fenders if you were trying to steer on a static low car. So that's kind of the overall idea for this. These Polos, we usually see people doing 13s and 14s on them and going super low. So 15s are kind of big, I guess, you know, for this chassis, for this type of body car. But since I'm on air, I wanted a really small tire so I could get the wheels as tight to the fenders as possible and get the tires underneath the car to have that full wheel look, but go as low as possible, but also be able to drive it super low and steer without roaching the fenders apart. So that's these sorted. I haven't balanced them yet. We do have a balancer here in the shop, but I just wanted to get the tires on. The first 3 needed the good old bead seeder. Huge thanks to Brian for that. That got us through. The last one, actually, we didn't need it. The last one I just put on the machine and just put air to it, and it seated up just fine. And like I mentioned before, all the 165/45s on 15x8s that I've done in the past, I haven't actually needed a bead blaster to get them seated. But a 165/50 I have, because those sidewalls are larger and they usually like roll in when they're stacked in the warehouse when these tires are new. So they need that bead blaster to kind of fold those sidewalls out to grab the the beat of the wheel to seat the tire. Well, it's just about 9 p.m., so I'm not going to head over to my shop with these and test fit them on the car. I still have to put my front strut assemblies back in order to get these set up, so I'm going to do that tomorrow. What I am going to finish tonight, though, are the Euro plates that are still in my machine, the Ludwick's Garage Euro plates for the Polo, and possibly start the design and production of the 3P controller housing stand holder that I'm going to make as well. So we'll see if I get to that tonight. Going to get to the Euro plates now. They're done engraving. I'm going to wash them, clean them up, and show you guys what those look like. All right, guys, I'm back in my laser shop. Haven't washed the Euro plates yet. Wanted to give you guys a look to see what they look like when I first engrave them. So as you can see, there's a bunch of laser like vapor debris over it. It's probably hard to see on camera, but basically when the laser engraves the acrylic, it creates a dust, and that dust is hot as the laser engraves, and there's an air assist on the laser as well that keeps the laser field and optics clear of smoke. So the air assist blows the smoke from whatever it's burning away from the line of sight for the laser. So it has like good definition and the laser beam doesn't get distorted by smoke. So basically what I gotta do now is wash this, because this is all covered in like a burn residue and it's literally like a powder that's kind of stuck to the acrylic. So I'm gonna wash it and then I'll show you guys a quick before and after. Got them all washed up and cleaned, and I am super, super happy with them. Sometimes I have to engrave them twice in order for the core color to really kind of pop. But when I'm engraving a core color that's black, it's usually pretty easy to get the color right on. So I'm super stoked. I haven't decided yet if I'm going to run one of these on the front of the Polo as well, but I'm definitely going to run one on the back. The best thing about this two-color acrylic that's engraved, you're not working with like an acrylic plate that has a vinyl, like a die-cut vinyl graphic laid over it, where, you know, if it was a front plate, even a back plate, and you're driving on the road and you've got the elements dealing with the car and just road grime, if you're driving in the rain or whatever, just debris hitting it, over time that vinyl is just going to peel up and come off. You know, some people will put a vinyl on and maybe coat, you know, clear coat over it so there's like a protective layer there. But the thing about the two-color acrylic is it's engraved into the plastic. It's all part of the plastic. You can't take that off. And this acrylic is guaranteed against UV light for like 50 years or something like that. So this can sit outside and retain its color for, yeah, it's between 40 and 50 years in the UV light sitting in the sun. It's incredibly impervious to the elements. Obviously, it's pretty bendable. I mean, you can snap it if you really, really bend it, but it's an extruded acrylic, which is more flexible than a cast acrylic. So I've really enjoyed working with this material. I've made all sorts of different things out of them. Here's a sample from my friend Matt Phillips at Lord Lifestyle. I made out of the mirrored version, which is black that engraves white. This was just a sample that we never went to production with, but just as an example within reach of some other things that I've made with the two-color acrylic. So what I'll probably end up doing is I use like the adhesive Velcro pieces for these, so I can actually take them on and off the car. I might drill some holes and actually bolt them to the car, but a lot of times what I'll do is I'll use the adhesive Velcro. That way this can be taken on and off if I'm going to wash the car. And then when I'm ultimately done, if I'm going to like move the car on without a plate, I can take the Velcro off and then use like a glue remover, like a Goo Gone or something like that, to actually get any residue that the adhesive of the Velcro may have left behind. That's going to do it for this episode. It's about 10 o'clock as I'm talking to you guys now, so that's going to be enough into the wee hours of the morning of work to do in post from here on out. So I'm not going to tackle the controller mount tonight. I'll probably end up doing that tomorrow in the next video, but I'm also going to test fit the wheels tomorrow. I'm going to work in the shop. I'm going to get some of the suspension components mounted. That way I can get the wheels mounted and finalize what I need to do to get the front strut assemblies finished with the correct Ackerman angle. So once again, thank you guys so much for watching. There's a link in the description below this video to the web store. I do still have some Ludwick's Garage and Governor's Club gear left from the second run that I made of merchandise after Riverside, which was this past April. Still have some of the Ludwick's Garage Purpose and Passion shirts, some of the Governor's Club key rings. The motel room key rings are sold out, I think. I need to make more of those. Again, all the hard goods you guys see on the web store, I make myself here in my laser shop, the Ludwick's Garage laser shop. So huge thanks to all of you guys who have supported me over the years with all the merchandise, branded or commission work, stuff that I do for your brand and business as well. So grab that gear up before it's gone. What I'm going to do is I'm going to sell out of that gear before the Polo Coupe giveaway begins. So I'm going to drive the fact home that all the hard goods that will be available during the Polo giveaway, I make right here in my shop. So this isn't going to be some smorgasbord of just super boring t-shirts for the car giveaway. It's probably going to be an insurmountable amount of work if this giveaway does well, because I'm a one-man operation and I don't have any help. I'm real adamant about all of the merchandise, or most of the merchandise, coming out of this shop leaving my hands. So that way, everyone who plays along in the giveaway isn't just receiving merchandise in return, even if they don't win the car. They're receiving merchandise that I made myself, and I've had my hands on each product numerous times throughout their production, and it's a labor of love. It is, and I really appreciate you guys' support, and I want you guys to have something of value that I made with my own two hands. That doesn't mean I won't have shirts and hats available. I'd really like to do that too, because obviously people like wearing hats and shirts. But I really want to focus on the hard goods for the giveaway, so you guys are receiving products that I've made and shipped out myself. So more on that. I have yet to figure out all the logistics for the giveaway, but that's one of the main things that I want to make sure I include in the giveaway. So thanks again for watching, guys. I'll see you in the next episode where I am test fitting the Rotiforms on the 2F Polo Coupe.